Throughout the past several years, as Capcom has released all of the Mega Man Legacy collections, there has just been one little thing that the community continually asks for, and that is, where's my spin-off games? As the Legacy collections always focus on the numbered titles or just the mainline series all the way through, it has left fans wondering if we will ever get, for example, a Mega Man Legacy Collection 3, an Odds and Ends collection with a bunch of the spin-offs like Mega Man and Base, Wily Wars, and so on. Well, this year, or should I say within the past month, we've been getting some bits and pieces of what could have been Legacy Collection 3. We had Mega Man The Wily Wars released on the Genesis Mini, the first physical release in North America, and just recently got put on the Nintendo Switch Online service as part of the expansion pack, marking the first time Wily Wars ever got on one of the big three modern consoles, meaning Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox, but just Nintendo for now. We had Rockman and Forte, the Super Famicom version, show up on a Capcom mini console as well, also including Mega Man Soccer of all games. Which brings us to today with the launch of the Capcom Arcade Second Stadium, a compilation of a ton of different Capcom Arcade titles as the name suggests. This is actually the second compilation they put out, but the reason why we're covering this one is it has a couple Mega Man games, two great classics in Mega Man The Power Battles and Mega Man 2 The Power Fighters. Now, unlike the other examples I've used, save for Wily Wars perhaps, these two arcade games have been ported a number of times by now. They were on two different Capcom mini consoles the last couple years, and even before that, they were included as a bonus on the Mega Man Anniversary Collection on GameCube, Xbox, and PlayStation 2. Anniversary Collection wasn't the best, obviously. It had emulation issues, glitches, the A and B buttons were swapped on the GameCube, but getting past those issues, it was still a nice bonus and a decent way to experience the arcade titles. That was actually how I experienced them for the first time back in the day. And hey, if you have those old consoles or any of the Capcom mini consoles that has them pre-installed, more power to you, you can play it that way. That said, however, it is super nice to have these two titles on modern consoles and Steam for the first time. Hey, now I can play the Mega Man arcade games on the go. Though I guess the Neo Geo Pocket beat the Switch to the punch on that one, technically. Let's cut the history lesson though and get right into what the heck is Capcom Arcade Second Stadium. Well, like the first compilation, this is a collection of up to 32 different Capcom Arcade games, all laid out beautifully in this hub that is styled exactly like a real-life arcade. So for anyone who has experienced an arcade in real life, if you grew up during that time, this will definitely hit the nostalgia for you. But before I get any further, you must be asking, what games are included exactly? I'm glad you asked, so let's go down the list. In the order that's presented in-game, we have Sun, which everyone gets for free when you download the game, Savage Bees, oh no, not the bees, Gunsmoke, the Speed Rumbler, Hyperdyne Sidearms, Hisatsu Buraiken, Black Tiger, Street Fighter, Tiger Road, 1943 Kai, Last Duel, Rally 2011 Leadstorm, Magic Sword, Three Wonders, which is a 3-in-1 game that you get for free if you purchase the Capcom Fighting Collection that came out recently, The King of Dragons, Block, Knights of the Round, Saturday Night Slam Masters, Echo Fighters, Nickies, Darkstalkers The Night Warriors, Darkstalkers Revenge, Street Fighter Alpha, Mega Man The Power Battle, Street Fighter Alpha 2, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, Mega Man 2 The Power Fighters, Vampire Savior The Lord of Vampire, Capcom Sports Club, Super Gym Fighter Mini Mix, Street Fighter Alpha 3, and lastly, Hyper Street Fighter 2 The Anniversary Edition. Yeah, Capcom always finds a way to include Street Fighter 2 in these collections. I wouldn't be surprised if Switch owners have access to every Street Fighter II version by now. Anyway, just looking down the list, we do have a lot of different genres on display, from fighting games to puzzle games, platformers, and everything in between. But we don't care about any of that for this video because we're a Mega Man channel, so we're going to be covering specifically Mega Man the Power Battles and Mega Man 2 the Power Fighters. How do they hold up on this new collection? But before we get to that, for anyone who has never played the Mega Man arcade games before, how did these play? First of all, it looks like in this collection, Power Battles is based on its CPS-1 version and not the CPS-2 one, which is also the version they went with for the Anniversary Collection. At least to my ears. That means you're not going to get the CD quality music, and I didn't find any option to change to CPS-2, so that's a bit of a shame, but oh well. Mega Man 2 The Power Fighters is obviously the CPS-2 version. However, you can change to the Japanese versions of the respective titles if you want to do it that way, so that's nice. Anyway, essentially it's a boss rush mode featuring many robot masters from Mega Man 1 through 7. But instead of fighting all these guys with just a plain old blue bomber, you have the addition of Proto Man and Bass as playable characters. Mega Man 2 The Power Fighters adds Duo to the roster. And man, Duo is awesome. The arcade game really makes you appreciate him more, especially when you watch him uppercut an enemy, jump up and slam it back down. Sheesh, that's brutal. Yeah, being honest, Power Fighters is the better of the two. More characters, more power-ups, extra moves for the characters, like the aforementioned uppercuts. Mega Man gets an uppercut too, Bass gets a kick, Proto Man gets his signature Proto Strike, not to mention the better graphics and music. In the first game you pick from 3 groups, Mega Man 1 through 2, Mega Man 3 through 6, and then just plain old Mega Man 7. Then through a roulette wheel, you'll fight 6 different robot masters from those games. You'll acquire their special weapons upon defeating them, and of course you have to figure out the weakness order in true Mega Man rock paper scissors fashion. Sometimes the bosses have the same weakness they did in the mainline games, sometimes they don't, so experiment until you figure it out. After that, you fight a fortress boss and Wily himself. Huh, would you look at that? Yellow Devil does the speed gear before Mega Man 11 made it cool. And that's pretty much all there is to it. The games are very short, about 5 to 10 minutes to complete a single playthrough, but the different routes and the different characters do add a lot of replay value to it, and depending on which character you use to beat the game, you'll get to watch a different ending involving them. The sequel expands on the ideas by adding the aforementioned special moves, duo, adding extra story to each of the routes, the ability to select any of the 6 robot masters. I should mention that both games feature multiplayer, which is the best way to play the games. It is a lot of fun smashing these robot masters to pieces with your friends, and seeing how long you can juggle one in the air. So in Power Battles, whoever lands the last hit on the boss gets the credit for that stage, adding a win that the game does keep track of. Additionally, both players will receive the special weapon from the boss regardless of your performance. However, the Power Fighters changes all that, because now you have to fight over who gets the special weapon and the credit for the boss, adding an extra competitive element to an otherwise co-op game. The last big change that Power Fighters brings to the table is additional unique endings depending on the 2 characters that you take to the end of the game. So instead of just a Mega Man solo ending, you could have Mega Man and Bass together, or Duo and Proto Man together, and so on. Otherwise, that's the Mega Man arcade games in a nutshell. Like I said, Power Fighters is the superior one, but these are both well worth playing through, especially in multiplayer to have some boss rush fun with your friends. And you don't have to worry much if you're not very good at these type of games, because there's always infinite credits through this collection. It's very easy to quickly join a game and switch characters if you die repeatedly. Not to mention there is DLC for this collection that adds invincibility if you really need it. but honestly you're fine without it. I also love the music remixes for the different Robot Master themes, especially in Power Fighters. Fun fact, some of the music featured was also used for the Rock Band Complete Works games on the PlayStation 1. And if you do happen to be a Mega Man lore enthusiast, definitely check out the different endings if you can. Like, hey, I can't think of many times the classic series actually acknowledges the X series, because bam, there he is, Zero himself. That's so cool. Alright, so now that we know what the games are like, how did these two particular ports hold up in Capcom Arcade's second stadium? Pretty well, actually. However, there is a caveat, and yep, it's disappointing, but there is no online play in this collection. It's all local multiplayer. So while you can still technically play in multiplayer, you're not going to be able to do it with your online friends, which is really disappointing. Because like I said, the best way to play these games is with multiplayer, with your friends. Single player is alright and all, but it's just not the same. At the very least, since this collection is coming out on Steam, you should be able to use a PC program like Parsec or Steam's built-in online play tools in order to connect with a friend online and then play the game that way. But at that point, it's almost like just setting up another emulator to play the games online anyways. And that's why, in my opinion, it is truly disappointing that this doesn't have online, because now console players can't play with each other unless they have friends in real life. Who has those? And even on PC, this may not necessarily replace our favorite way to connect online to play. I was hoping it might, but sadly, not the case. It is a bigger bummer when you consider that there is online play, rollback even, for the Capcom Fighting Collection that just came out. So you know it can be done. It just didn't happen for whatever reason. Hopefully next year when the Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection comes out, I won't be talking all depressed like this for a lack of multiplayer there, but this does make me a bit worried. Come on Capcom, if you're listening, at least consider it. You have a year, right? But that's enough feeling sorry for ourselves for now, so let's get back to the actual quality of the emulation on display here. I didn't have any issues of input lag. The controls felt as responsive as it's going to get. That said, because all of these are emulated, there will always be some inherent input lag. It won't be zero. Though that's just the way that emulation works and not really anything against the game itself. Either way, it's worth bearing in mind. What I can say is, for the casual player, you're not going to notice anything major unless you're really looking for it. On top of that, the audio is fine, everything sounds as it should. I didn't notice any major glitches either. The only minor graphical glitch I noticed is that if you kill a boss on the edge of the screen in the Power Fighters, when the boss explodes and the items are released, you'll see the items appear like a line on the edge of the screen for just a split second. However, I can't tell you if that also happens on real hardware or not. It's just a really small thing I noticed that's not going to affect the gameplay. So that's the basics. It plays well, audio and visuals are okay. So already this has the makings for a pretty decent emulation port. We could end the video there, but Capcom Arcade Second Stadium adds a load of extra little features on top of that, and that's for every game, but we'll cover it here for the two arcade games. Let's start with the display settings. As is a common feature in many collections, such as the recent Mega Man Legacy collections, there are a number of display options to the aspect ratio, the filters, the frames, and all that. However, Capcom Arcade Second Stadium is quite robust. When you boot up the collection for the first time, you'll be playing the games through this arcade 3D view, which is meant to remind you of the good old days playing at an actual arcade cabinet. And yeah, it is pretty cool at first, but it only took me a couple minutes for the novelty to wear off. So if you want to get into some serious gameplay, you gotta make it full screen, right? So set the frame to 2D mode, and you're off to the races. For display size, You can go the original arcade aspect ratio, normal 4:3, and what they call max aspect ratio, which is just 16:9 full frame. But let's be honest, if you do this, you're a monster. Though I will say, no matter which size you choose, everything looks razor sharp, especially on the Switch's handheld mode screen. Personally, I like the 4:3 mode the best. As for the filters, they're all different forms of scan lines, with a couple different intensity levels. A filter that blurs the screen a little bit, like you're playing on composite video, and a set of filters that makes it look like you're playing on a CRT TV. Surprisingly, the awful smoothing filter from the Legacy collections aren't here, which is maybe for the best. So overall, the filters for me are just there. I'm not going to be using them. The Type B scanline looks alright, but honestly, you may as well get Power Battles and Power Fighters on the Mr. FPGA if you want some really good looking scanlines. Next is my favorite part, the frames. And there is a ton of different frames to choose from in this collection. From different arcade cabinets to look at, to several different 2D frames that you'll either unlock by increasing your player rank, and others come as part of DLC. For example, when you get the game anytime from now until August 5th, you will receive a display frame set that features all 32 titles. And yes, that includes both of the Megaman titles, so you can slap the frames up there like you're playing a Megaman Legacy Collection 3. Oh yeah. Lastly, you do have the ability to rotate the screen in any orientation you like, which I'm sure is meant for Tate mode. However, since these Mega Man games are displayed in 4:3 essentially, Tate mode doesn't really work here, nor is it needed. Still, I won't complain about extra options, especially for the other games in the collection. Moving on to game settings, these basically represent the different dip switches you would have if you owned the arcade board yourself. So you can affect the difficulty level, which essentially just makes the Robot Masters harder. From what I can tell, the highest difficulty makes their desperation moves more deadly. For example, Shadow Man and the Power Fighters will summon his froggy friend to fight you in its desperation phase. The bosses will generally be faster too, but otherwise it's not too different. Next is time limit, which just changes the amount of time you have to defeat each boss. Now game speed is really funny. You can make it really slow or really fast. Yes, now you can harness the power of Zawado! Or time slow for us Mega Man fans. Obviously, increasing the game speed is going to make it really hard, because you'll have less time to react to attacks. On the other hand, I gotta admit, I had way more fun than I should have playing the game in slow mode. Obviously, it's going to allow you to dodge the attacks really easily. It turns out Quick Man isn't so quick in slow motion. But on top of that, I loved hearing the slowed down voice clips in Power Fighters. I got a few chuckles out of that. Lastly, you can turn on and off the attract mode sound. If you downloaded the Invincibility DLC, that option will be here too. However, if you are going for achievements, which by the way, achievements are a thing in the Switch version too, do keep in mind that turning on Invincibility will make you ineligible for the achievements that require beating the game. On the topic of accessibility options, we do have save states here. Just save your game at any time, and you can load it anywhere inside the collection, even in the main menu. You have up to 32 slots to use, one for each game, so make use of it. Additionally, this collection has a powerful rewind feature, which is on par with the implementation in Mega Man Legacy Collection 1. With the press of a button, you can rewind all the way to the beginning if you want to, or if you're using a save state, at least until the point where you saved. Did you just allow Shademan to grab you and suck your life out? No he didn't. What do you mean? Aha, with the power of rewind, that never happened. If you ever want to learn more about how to play the game, each game in this collection has a game manual, complete with screenshots on everything in the UI, explanations on all the controls, even the different moves like a wall jump, how to perform the special moves in Power Fighters, which is mostly charge attack plus up anyways, They even got Duo's follow-up attack down. They even included introductions to each of the characters that are playable, and a quick breakdown of every single Robot Master and special weapon available in the game. Now that is pretty neat. I saved perhaps the most fun feature for last. If you are looking for something new to do in these games other than replay it over and over, there are a few different challenge modes to try as well. Nothing quite as robust as what you might see in the Legacy collections, but nevertheless they are there. First up is Score Challenge mode, where you must reach the end of the game on a single life, no continues. You won't be able to abuse rewinding and save states either, and your total score at the end will be posted to the online leaderboards, which again is sadly the only online feature that this collection has. In Time Challenge mode, you must simply reach the end as fast as you can. You may also continue as many times as you like, and for some reason they let you abuse rewind for this. All in all, this is the challenge for speedrunners, and if you perform well enough, your time will be posted to the leaderboard. I should also mention that these challenges are single player only, so those rare people who do have friends won't have any extra advantage here. But wait, there's more! Now we have the special challenges. The first is the same as Score Challenge, except the difficulty level is turned all the way up. Special Challenge 2 is where things get interesting because the game speed will be turned up to very fast. And yeah, like I said, playing the game at very fast is harder than it looks. You'll definitely want to practice your reflexes for this one. And lastly, Special Challenge 3 is exactly the same as Time Challenge, except you can change the game speed if you like, which I would imagine would result in faster times if you can get used to very fast. Yeah, the challenges aren't too crazy, but they are a welcome addition for something a little bit new to do with these games. Also, at the time of recording this video, I'm apparently the very first person to bother doing these challenges on the Switch. I guess the other reviewers don't care about Megaman, sad. But obviously that's not gonna last long at all. So hey, try to beat my scores, even though it'll be very easy to do so. Last thing I'll say is, when you get into the games for the first time, the default controls are gonna be A for jump and B for attack. Yeah, you're probably going to want to change that to Y for attack and B for jump and so on. Thankfully, you can customize the buttons to your liking, and I do highly recommend doing that. So while I don't like the default controls, good on Capcom for giving us the option to fix that. Well, that's going to wrap it up for Mega Man The Power Battles and Mega Man 2 The Power Fighters and the Capcom Arcade Second Stadium. In conclusion, I really like this collection. The presentation is very nice, the games play well, and really the only complaint I have is the lack of online multiplayer. That is the feature I wanted the most, and unfortunately it's not here. However, if you just want to play the two Mega Man arcade games on a modern console or PC, and either online multiplayer doesn't matter as much to you, or you do have a group of friends somehow, this is the way to do it for sure. Capcom Arcade Second Stadium is out July 22nd, 2022, most likely by the time you see this video, and it's $40 for all the games, but if you just want a couple of the games, like the Mega Man games, it is $4 per game. So if you were picking this collection up for just the two Mega Man arcade games, that would be about $8 plus tax, which isn't too bad at all actually. Remember, you do get Sun for free, and if you have the Capcom Fighting Collection, you will get 3 Wonders as well, until September 30th. There's also a load of different DLC like frames and the games themselves on the Nintendo eShop, PlayStation Network, Xbox Store, and all that, so definitely check it out for all the other details. And thankfully, Invincibility mode, if that matters to you, is completely free. You don't have to pay for that one. So that's nice. Thank you to Capcom for the opportunity to take a look at this compilation a little bit early, and thank you to all of you for watching. For more on Mega Man, of course, stay tuned to ShadowRockZX. If you like Mega Man S games, we do have a review for Azure Striker Gunvolt 3 coming up next week on Wednesday, just a day before the launch. So if you're interested in seeing how that game turned out, it's been a long time coming, definitely stay tuned for that review. Until then, rock on and have yourselves a great day or night. Now if you excuse me, I'll be jamming out to that title screen music for the collection.